A man worth billions, dressed in clothes that cost less than the water served at his tables, sits alone in the most exclusive restaurant he owns. He's not here for the steak. He's hunting for something his fortune can't buy. A glimmer of truth in a world built of polished lies. But in this kingdom of fake smiles and calculated kindness, his quest feels pointless. He orders the emperor's cut, a $700 slab of beef, a silent test for the staff around him. The young waitress who takes his order, however, seems different. Before we continue, tell us where in the world you are watching from. Drop it in the comments below. And if you enjoy the story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more powerful content like this. There's a quiet desperation in her eyes that pierces through his thick armor of cynicism. As she serves his meal, her hand trembles, slipping a folded napkin toward him. He expects a phone number, maybe a discreet plea for money, but when he unfolds it, 4 simple, chilling words stop his heart and threaten to bring his entire empire crashing to its knees. The immense weight of Julian Croft's fortune was a physical burden, a bespoke suit of armor woven from stock certificates and real estate deeds. It was impossibly heavy. At 45, he commanded Croft Holdings, a sprawling global conglomerate with ventures in everything from luxury hotels to advanced technology. From his penthouse office that scraped the clouds above the city, he could move markets and reshape skylines with a single phone call. He was a king in a kingdom of glass and steel, and he was profoundly, achingly alone. The world he moved through was a curated illusion. Every conversation was buffered by assistants, lawyers, and public relations teams. The people he met were vetted, their smiles polished, their intentions sanitized. They laughed at his jokes, even the bad ones. He was surrounded by mirrors, each reflecting a carefully constructed image of the powerful man they assumed he wanted to be. The real Julian, the one who grew up in a small town with dreams of being a simple builder, had been lost somewhere on the climb. This evening's ritual was born from that loneliness. He would shed the skin of Julian Croft, titan of industry, and put on the shabby persona of a man adrift in the world. He was heading to the Gilded Scepter, the crown jewel of his hospitality division. His report spoke of flawless service and record-breaking revenues. But reports were just numbers. They couldn't measure the soul of a place. Julian wanted to see it for himself, through the eyes of someone who didn't matter. Elena Vance moved through the chaos of the dinner rush like a ghost. She was efficient, she was polite, but she kept a part of herself locked away, a necessary act of self-preservation. The restaurant was a stage, and every night she played her part. But behind the curtain of her smile, a storm of anxiety was raging. Her younger brother, Leo, was the center of her universe. His life was a cycle of doctor's appointments and terrifying trips to the emergency room due to a rare genetic disorder. The treatments were experimental and astronomically expensive. Every single dollar Elena earned went into the bottomless pit of Leo's medical bills. The job paid well, but it came at a cost. The manager, Marcus Thorne, was a predator in a well-tailored suit. He had discovered a minor inventory mistake Elena made out of sheer exhaustion and had turned it into a weapon. He accused her of theft, threatening to have her fired and blacklisted. Then he offered a deal. She could work to pay off the loss, which he had inflated to an impossible sum. She was his indentured servant, Worse, he began forcing her to help him with the real crime. She had 2 years of accounting in community college, and Marcus used that knowledge to have her reconcile fabricated invoices, hiding his own much larger theft. She saw the numbers that didn't add up, the invoices from suppliers she'd never heard of, and the vast sums of money being funneled away. She was trapped. When she first saw the man in the worn jacket at her table, her sympathy was immediate. It was the worst table, where Marcus stuck people he deemed undesirable. When he ordered the Emperor's Cut and a $300 glass of wine, her professional composure almost cracked. Marcus intercepted her by the wine station. "Are you insane?" he hissed. "When he dines and dashes, that $1,000 is coming out of your paycheck. You understand me?" Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through her. But as she looked past Marcus's sneering face, she saw the man watching them. He saw Marcus's aggression and her fear. He simply nodded, a slow, almost imperceptible gesture. It sent a jolt of courage through her. He knew. The rhythm of the dinner service pressed on, a relentless tide of orders and plates. Elena moved through it on autopilot, her mind racing, plotting. The man at her table, her mysterious guest, was finishing his meal. Time was running out. She couldn't speak to him openly, not with Marcus's reptilian eyes constantly scanning the room. The note was her only option. She slipped into the break room, her heart hammering against her ribs. She grabbed a crisp linen napkin. Her hand shook as she scribbled, her handwriting tight and hurried. "They are poisoning the food." The ledger in his office checked the supplier. She didn't sign her name. It had to be a ghost's whisper. She folded the napkin into a small, tight square and tucked it deep into her pocket. As she returned for the final clearing, her pulse throbbed in her ears. Marcus was distracted. This was her chance. "Will there be anything else, sir?" she asked, her voice miraculously steady. "No, thank you, Elena." The meal was exceptional, he said, his eyes focused and waiting. With practiced movements, her right hand picked up an empty glass while her left, hidden from the room, slid the folded napkin from her pocket and placed it on the table, immediately covering it with the bill tray. The entire transaction took less than a second. It was a sleight of hand born of desperation. She picked up the tray, the note now concealed beneath it, and turned to leave. But the man spoke again, his voice sharp. "Wait." Elena froze, her blood running cold. Slowly, she turned. He was looking at the empty space on the table. He had expected her to leave the note. Her trick had been too clever. He thought she had taken it back. His eyes lifted to meet hers, filled with confusion and a flicker of disappointment. She had to fix this. With a courage she didn't know she possessed, she walked back to the table, tilted the tray just enough for the napkin to slide off, then placed the tray back down on top of it. "You forgot your tip," she whispered, turning and walking away without looking back, her entire body trembling. Julian Croft watched her retreat, his mind a whirlwind. The fumbled exchange, the whispered words, the final desperate deposit. The note was the tip. The information was the currency. Once outside in the cool night air, he unfolded the napkin. "They are poisoning the food." The ledger in his office. Check the supplier. The words were a punch to the gut. This was an attack on the Croft brand, on the promise of quality he sold to the world. His simple test for honesty had unearthed something far darker. The quiet waitress with the terrified eyes hadn't just served him a meal. She had served him a conspiracy. He got into a nondescript car and made a single call to Arthur, his chief operating officer and the only person who knew of his undercover trips. "The reports are lies," Julian said, his voice low and intense, recounting the evening's events. Arthur's team of forensic accountants and cybersecurity experts worked through the night. What they unearthed was more horrific than Julian could have imagined. The supplier was a shell company used to buy condemned toxic meat from a plant that had been shut down for extreme bacterial contamination. Marcus was knowingly serving poison to his patrons at a premium, funneling the profits to an offshore account. Just before dawn, Arthur called with the final chilling piece of the puzzle. They found encrypted video files on Marcus's computer. It was his insurance. The clips showed Elena, her face pale and strained, being explicitly threatened by him. He mentioned her brother's fragile health and her fabricated debt, forcing her to help cook the books. He had fatally underestimated her conscience. Julian listened, a cold, hard fury settling deep in his bones. The morning sun sliced through the blinds of his penthouse. The shabby disguise was gone, replaced by a flawless suit that radiated authority. At 11:45 a.m., two imposing black SUVs pulled up to the restaurant. Gregory Finch, expecting a celebrity, rushed to the door. His smile vanished as Julian Croft emerged. Finch knew the face of the company's reclusive owner instantly. "Mr. Thorne," Julian's calm voice echoed in the room, "we have business to discuss." Inside the manager's office, Arthur presented the evidence on a tablet, the ledger, the invoices, the video of him blackmailing Elena. As federal agents cuffed a sobbing Thorne and led him away, a stunned silence fell over the restaurant. Julian turned to Elena. "Last night," he said, his voice carrying through the room, "a person in this restaurant showed incredible integrity. That person risked everything to expose a crime, not for personal gain, but because it was right. That person was you, Elena?" Tears of relief streamed down her face. "Your fabricated debt is erased," Julian continued. "Furthermore, Croft Holdings is establishing a fully funded medical trust to cover all of your brother's care for life, and I am creating a new corporate position, Director of Ethical Oversight. It's yours, if you want it." In the end, it wasn't the billion-dollar empire that defined the story. It was a folded napkin and the courage of a young woman who refused to let fear extinguish her integrity.